Gran Turismo is the largest virtual racing brand in the world. Gran Turismo Sport is very likely the most played racing title at the moment. I've been following this title for a couple of years before committing myself to buy a PlayStation 4 with GT Sport in a bundle. After trying it out for over 8 months, I would like to give my honest opinions on it. My background is generally known to be in the sim racing department, but I'll give my honest opinions in the fair shake to GT Sport, so stay around and listen for the next few minutes. If you are on the fence about this game, this might steer you one way or the other. I'm aware that Sport was released in 2017, but it changes so often and it continues to receive updates and features, so a review in 2019 is as relevant as one in 2017. The game Gran Turismo, or the brand Gran Turismo, invokes a huge baggage due to its popularity and what it's perceived to be. Kazunori Yamauchi created a title with a huge following due to his love for cars and racing. The first Gran Turismo was a huge hit back in PlayStation 1 times, and over the years Kazunori and Polyphony Digital continued to improve on the formula and push the envelope more and more, continuously delivering GT games with better driving, great graphics that extracted all of the power out of the PlayStation hardware. But if the formula of Gran Turismo 1 through 6 is one thing, GT Sport diverges from what was particular about GT titles, but in other ways is kind of similar. This has annoyed many long-standing GT fans, yet it brought many others that weren't fans at all or were in the fence about Gran Turismo. In some ways it is a Gran Turismo title, in other ways it feels like a GT5 prologue with a complete set of features as well as new ones. Gran Turismo for me was always sort of a motor museum, a love letter to the automotive culture, but where we could drive the cars, with the possibility of buying, selling cars, tune them, complete events, improve on license to access more events. GT Sport has most of that, but it hugely simplifies the process as it centers itself in a major feature of Gran Turismo Sport, which is the sport mode and all the bells and whistles around it. Before going there, let's explore a bit of the game and how it feels and drives. Gran Turismo Sport will hit you with presentation at first. First of all, the menu presentation of this game is fantastic. It's very minimalist in nature, with most of the useful features displayed in a tasteful way, so the middle of the screen can show the car museum / love of automotive culture and design that is part of the fabric of Gran Turismo. We see beautiful cars shown in amazing architectures to the point it seems like we are sitting in a car dealer looking at pamphlets or screens showing adverts of these cars. Truth be told, Gran Turismo has evolved to be something connected to car sales, but that will be a tangent that is far away from the objective of this video. Polyphony Digital introduced a livery into the game where it's possible to create your own designs, something that can be useful for sport mode. There's a possibility of doing complex designs, importing vinyls from the internet, or using players' designs that were created by other players. In the livery editor, car alloys can be changed, and these alloys can be purchased from the credit shop, which is a feature that was added, but it kind of feels like it's a diluted feature from Gran Turismo 6. Other familiar features of the game are also here. There's a photo mode that has been far improved where we can choose from a wide selection of photo areas. The screenshots it can take are definitely something to behold, especially on the aging PlayStation 4 hardware. There's also something that looks like a Gran Turismo career with events, some special events, but now there's an amazing addition of learning the tracks and sectors, something that was really useful. But in terms of career, everything is very diluted. Despite the aging hardware of the PlayStation 4, Gran Turismo Sport is a beautiful game. It's able to render light really nicely, the graphics look crisp, the reproduction of the cars and tracks look fantastic. It's amazing how Polyphony Digital was able to bring the car museum look into the racing portion of the game, as everything is so well presented. GT Sport also has, at least in my opinion, the best color balance of any game, even when compared to newer titles. It truly looks photorealistic no matter the lighting situation. It doesn't matter if it rains or shines, it doesn't matter if it's morning or evening, it looks just great. Rain is present in the game and it looks fantastic. The handling on the rain I'll touch in a moment, as we are going to talk about the handling of the cars and physics in general. But before we're going to handling, first we need to understand what is Gran Turismo and what is the objective of it. Gran Turismo is a gateway of sorts into racing, sort of a church open to all. It will be very likely the first contact many have with racing and caters to many types of people using a lot of different peripherals. That means from controllers to now direct drives with Fanatec gear. Having that in mind, it's really hard to balance all of these factors and still create a title that is approachable but still relevant and close enough to be relatable to the real thing. The handling of GT Sport is convincing enough. Cars handle how they're supposed to be, at least on the basics, and we're talking about power, acceleration, general handling derived from car layout. A car with a front engine rear-wheel drive will act like one. A midship will act like one as well. The handling can be really convincing, especially on production cars using low-end tires. I was really surprised how cars like the RX-7 were convincing in the way they moved, how the suspension worked, braking distances, and so on. So this means there is some simulation value here, but the higher the power output and close to the racing spec this game goes, the bigger the simplification made on the physics engine is apparent. They still relate to the layouts and such. The basic physics are still relatable, but it seems they were simplified to cater to both controller users and wheel users as well as veteran players and newcomers to the genre. Rain driving is interesting, but not at the same level as other titles. Rain serves as a grip reduction sheen rather than something more complex where puddles are a thing and wet and dry lines need to be exploited. Gran Turismo Sport doesn't have any dynamic weather. That means if it's raining, it will keep on raining. If it's sunny, it will keep sunny, and this is a downgrade from Gran Turismo 6. As for defining what it is, GT Sport is not an arcade game, as arcade tactics would not work, as the tires do not allow for high-speed maneuvers of that kind. But it's not really a focused simulation, as the handling is simplified. Where it stands, it's a simcade, if you really need to name it. GT Sport is in the sweet spot for what the game is and its objectives. It does it really convincingly, especially when it connects with the sport mode. Before talking about sport, let's look to what content GT Sport offers. It has now quite a sturdy roster of cars and tracks. While not as large as Gran Turismo 4 or even 6, GT Sport does away with repeat cards of different trims for most cases. That means they choose the most important cars for each model, with the exception of the 86 Trueno and 11. The car selection is quite varied, comprising of vintage cars, JDM Heroes, modern hot hatches, many shades of road-going supercars, racing cars of different classes. All of these cars are now put into performance classes, going from road N classes to many racing cars separated between groups up to Group X. Track-wise, the selection is also deep and varied, choosing from really interesting fantasy tracks to really well-replicated real-life tracks like Spa, Bathurst, Brands Hatch, or even Nordschleife. All of this content has an amazing graphical fidelity, especially taking into consideration that we are talking about PS4 graphics, even if you are running it in a lower PlayStation 4 instead of the Pro. The sounds are vastly improved from GTs of old. A lot of effort was put into this, as it now has some resemblance to the real thing instead of resembling a Roomba, a Hoover, or a Henry vacuum. There are still better sounds out there, but they don't offend the ear so much this time. The track and car selection keeps getting new things every single update, so GT Sport is always expanding. Hopefully, some of the classic fan favorite tracks will come as well, such as Trial Mountain. The sport mode is the pièce de résistance of Gran Turismo Sport. This is not just a multiplayer feature, but rather a complex matchmaking feature that works as a quasi-on-demand system. That is, you can join any particular daily race almost immediately, as there are so many people racing on it that the session times are every 30 minutes at most. To unlock sport, you do need to do some tests and then watch a couple of videos where they talk about safety, sportsmanship, and safety and sportsmanship, and rinse and repeat. Also, it's very important for at least these videos that you do not look bad. When you unlock sports, to join a session, the process is quite simple. You just choose a daily race, do the qualification time, which you can improve during the week. Sport matchmaking system rates individual drivers based on performance and safety. Both ratings go to worst to the best, which is S, and will pair each driver with a split that matches their rating. As for the racing, there are admittedly many ups and downs. As the driving is simplified, so is the racing. As there is no real big performance impact on crashing, drivers can be very overly aggressive in committing to maneuvers. Hairpins with 3 and even 4 wide are not uncommon in this game, and of course crashes will happen often due to these situations. Regardless, it's mostly due to safety rating, as these issues reduce substantially in S rating for your safety rating. In a good split, there are always a few drivers that are absolute legends in both pace and driver etiquette. The fastest drivers will know exactly where to exploit the track or how to handle the car in ways that will surprise even the most veteran of sim racers. Sport mode works with a penalty system that tries to attribute fault, much like race stewards. It calculates automatic penalties to corner cuts, intentionally bumping, pit maneuvers, wipeouts, and etc. It works well within the possibilities of an automatic system, but often it gives a penalty that's too harsh for something that wasn't really a big deal, or misattributes faults. Still, it's better to have it than not to have a system like this. Polyphony Digital improves on it when they can, so it's always being tweaked. A highlight of sport are the special FIA and Nation Cup qualifiers. These are for the big real-life esports events that Gran Turismo organizes on a regular basis. These events are very likely the biggest racing esports events and bring hundreds of thousands and maybe millions of viewers. These events are rather well organized with an amazing coverage of the races, live stewards to apply penalties, and with comments of popular content creators well connected to what is Gran Turismo, such as Jimmy Broadbent or Super GT. The races are varied and rather thrilling, with the top racers driving there. These events really blur the lines between TV coverage of real-life racing and esports to the point where racing drama is also on point, so something to watch even if you don't play Gran Turismo. I do understand why some Gran Turismo fans are disappointed in sport. GT Sport is not a full-fledged Gran Turismo. I would also love to see a Gran Turismo 7 with all its mechanics and features. Still, I can't fault Polyphony for trying something new that is relevant for this day and age. Those who hate on Gran Turismo as a brand are really missing the point of it. In reality, they are missing the point of the automotive culture in general. This is about how cars makes us feel, the stories behind them, the engineering and design. This is why we love driving cars, not how much we want to spend on wheels or cockpits. GT or even GT Sport might not be the most sim that ever simmed, but it really doesn't matter. In a gaming market where everything is immediate and DLC based, Gran Turismo dares once again to be a game with a soul. It loves cars, it wants to show us that it loves cars, and we are better for having it. I can't really wait for Gran Turismo 7. And that's it, guys. I hope you have enjoyed the video. I hope you've enjoyed the review. If you did, don't forget to press like and subscribe. Also hit that notification bell so you'll see new videos and streams when they come out. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.